Hi there, I'm Catherine Ebling. I am an RN, MSN, public health, and prior to me being a nurse, I was a personal trainer for about 12 years. In addition, I've written hundreds of articles, literally hundreds of articles, that have been researched and written by me on diet, health, and fitness, and they've been published by my publishing company, Nutrition Watchdog. I've also written 6 books on diet and health, and they've been sold all over the world. So I've done a little bit of research on diet, health, and fitness. I want to talk today about how to add years to your life and improve your health. The best way to do it is to continue to build muscle of all things. And this is some of the newest and latest research out there. Longevity is all about muscle mass. As we age, we can lose 3 to 8% of our muscle every 10 years. However, here's the thing, if you're over 50, that goes up to about 10% per decade. So every 10 years, we're losing another 10%. If you think of that, if that starts happening at the age of 50, you've already been losing muscle mass before that. But by the time you get to age 80, if you're not trying to keep it and build it, then you will definitely lose up to half your muscle mass. And that is why you see frail little old ladies, because they've lost a lot of muscle mass. And this obviously causes issues with mobility, balance, and living independently. Women usually live longer than men because we generally take care of ourselves, but we have a higher rate of disability because of that loss of muscle. So just remember, it's not fashionable to be thin anymore. It's fashionable to be strong and have muscles, and that can be at any age. Let's talk about muscle and bulk, especially for women. Women often avoid lifting heavy weights. And I know when I was growing up, it was like, oh, I don't want to lift weights. I'm going to get all muscly and bulky. And this doesn't happen. This is physiologically impossible. We don't have enough testosterone as women to get bulky unless we're taking some like bodybuilders do. And they're usually taking large amounts of protein, they're taking testosterone or other androgens, and doing a lot of other unnatural things to get that muscle growth. Women also have estrogen and progesterone, and that means we have a little more body fat and a little less definition. But that's not a bad thing. Women and muscle. Today, it's actually popular for women to have muscle. And if you scroll through Instagram, especially, as soon as you start looking at it, you'll see more. But I have my whole Instagram is full of women working out, and it's pretty impressive, actually. Muscle equals discipline, and you get a fit, firm, strong body. Muscle is, and this is what I really like about it, it's empowerment, strength, and confidence. And that not only reflects in your body, but in your personality and your character. You feel powerful. You feel confident. And that is what you want to have. What more could you want? Muscle makes a huge difference. Muscle is vital to our metabolism. We actually burn calories faster and burn up calories when we have more muscle. It's also important for our circulation because it pushes blood around our body better. It's important for our brain health, and this is some of the newest discovery. There's actually BDNF that working out creates, and BDNF has to do with how the brain cells communicate with each other, and also has to do with stimulating new brain cells to grow. It also has to do with our immune function. It can make it stronger and help our other organs function as well. Because muscles are linked to many systems in the body, published research shows muscle mass is a better predictor of overall health than almost all the other biomarkers, including things like cholesterol, blood sugar, your bone health, many other tests that doctors do. If you have muscle mass, you are healthy. Leg strength in particular has been found as one of the best ways to predict longevity overall. And this is really interesting research. You can Google that, and it's out there. So let's talk about muscle and aging. The one thing that improves health, body composition, end lifespan is making muscle. It's especially true for females who have low muscle mass. Women lose more muscle with age and are at a greater risk for premature death when we have low muscle mass. Muscle mass predicts longevity in adults 65 plus, especially in women. In a study of 1,000 adults, women's risk of death with lower muscle mass increased 63 times during the study period. Another study of 1,200 women and men, sorry, there's a noise out here. Another study of 1,200 women and men who were over 40 found muscle mass to be the best predictor of mortality, of all things, of everything. Another study of 100,000 participants aged 65 to 74 found 3 times a week to 6 times a week weight training lowered the risk of death from any cause. And this is really important because that means a person who's eating a terrible diet, smoking cigarettes, eating, Doritos and all kinds of bad stuff, if they're working out, their risk of death is lower. I think that's just really fascinating. So let's talk about muscle, fat, and bones. Muscles pulling on your bones strengthen the bones due to extra stress and can prevent or even reverse osteoporosis and osteopenia. Bones subject to the extra stress from weight training signal the bone to rebuild harder and stronger. If you're dieting to lose weight, lifting weights actually increases your ability to burn fat better. And this is really interesting too. If you're dieting to lose weight and you're lifting weights, you will lose more body fat and retain your muscle. And this is really important. And it's something I want to note, since Ozempic and all those weight loss drugs are out there. One of the biggest things that happens is people lose a lot of muscle mass when they're taking these drugs, unless they're working out. So if they're preserving their muscle, they're going to do better off when they get off the medication than the people who are just taking the medication and losing fat and muscle, because as soon as they get off, their metabolism hits a wall and they're going to gain it all back. Research shows that strength training improves your metabolism and your ability to burn fat far better than diet. More muscle mass creates a bigger fire in your body. I guess that's a good way to describe it. I always think of it as, say you got a fire in your fireplace. The more muscle mass you have is like putting more logs on the fire, so that fire burns bigger and brighter. And that's what your metabolism does when you have more muscle. So even if you're fit and you have more muscle mass and you're sitting on the couch watching TV, you're burning a lot more calories than the person sitting next to you who has less muscle mass. So muscle is metabolically active, and that's also a great thing. Muscle protects your health too. Having muscle and being fit allows you to be more active, which overall is good for your health and longevity and mental health too. I think that's a big one. Having muscle mass removes that excess glucose from your bloodstream. So muscles actually store glucose in their muscles. So if you eat a piece of cake or a cookie and you happen to have a little bit more muscle, then that sugar gets sucked up into your muscles and is used later for energy. Whereas someone who doesn't have a lot of muscle mass, their blood sugar goes up and all those bad things happen. Muscle's also good for your heart health. Your heart is a muscle. So as you get stronger, your heart and lungs get stronger too. You want to always prioritize making muscle over losing weight. So say you want to drop a dress size or 2 for whatever reason. Lifting weights will make you get fitter faster than calorie counting, because your body becomes denser and trimmer, plus you're able to burn calories faster. So even if you ate the same thing and lifted weights, you would get trimmer and lose weight. Not lose weight, you would get trimmer and look thinner. That's a better word for it. A study in 2021 found women with higher than average muscle mass were less likely to die from heart disease as well. And that's something, if you're over 50, again, that's a little bit more of a concern. Weight training also lowers your risk of cancer. And this, again, there's a lot of research out there about this. Your risk of cancer is lowered. Your body actually turns on its ability to kill cancer cells when you've exercised. Alzheimer's is also lowered. Your heart disease and diabetes is also lowered. All of these are due mostly to the fact that your body maintains lower glucose levels. And as I've talked about before, glucose, too much blood sugar, can be sort of the root of a lot of other diseases. So keeping that blood sugar lower because you have muscle mass helps prevent a lot of other diseases. How about this? Muscle in your brain. This one's really big, and this is some of the newest research that's out about muscle. Muscle actually stimulates your brain to grow more brain cells. It boosts your cognitive powers, your mood, and focus. So if you want to sit down, I know for me, I'm a writer and I need to research and come up with the right words to create an article. And if I need better focus, working out first would definitely give me more focus. Muscle also fights cognitive decline. It is really helpful to your brain and protects against neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's. It also improves your brain function, and this is good. Weightlifting decreases anxiety and depression. So if I've noticed this before, and I don't really have issues with anxiety or depression, but occasionally I'll just feel kind of blah. And I can go to the gym and get in a nice workout, and my mood is definitely 10 times better. Give it a shot. Also, it helps brain fog. I sometimes get brain fog with allergies, or if I ate something kind of funky the night before, like eating dessert too late in the day or something like that, you get brain fog. Weightlifting can help you clear that brain fog and improve your focus. Now, this is interesting. Muscles improve your immune system. People with lower muscle mass have a higher chance of catching contagious diseases, and of course, all-cause mortality. So if it's flu season, or if there's COVID, or if there's another kind of pandemic, if you have higher muscle mass, you're a lot better off at either not catching it or catching a more mild version. Low muscle mass increases your risk for pneumonia because you're, laying down mostly or sedentary. So you are more at risk for pneumonia. The muscle system is actually an organ, the whole muscle system, and it helps regulate your immune function. Strong muscles equals a strong immune system. So if we're getting older, can we add more muscle, or is it too late? This is pretty fascinating. One study, there's been several done on people older, on people aged 85 and over, showed that they had significant gains in muscle mass and strength from weight training. On average, the participants increased their muscle mass by 11% and their strength by 46%, surpassing the gains of, this is funny, the younger participants, quote unquote, in their 60s and 70s. They beat out the 60s and 70-year-olds because they were increasing their muscle mass and their strength. I think that's awesome. Research published in Science Daily also shows individuals who are 90 years old or more improve their strength, power, and muscle mass after a 12-week training program. That is pretty awesome. So it's not too late. These improvements led to faster walking speed, enhanced ability to get up and sit down, better balance, which is really important, and a significant reduction in falls. To increase your health span, weight training and muscle building is non-negotiable. It is like the thing to increase your longevity and your health span. I don't know why I can't say that, but I can't. Health span. Your health span is not only the length of time you live, but the amount of time that you are in good health. So we all want to live up until the end of our life, pretty much, with a healthy body. But that doesn't always happen. A lot of people end up with chronic disease 20 or more years before they actually die. So we want a health span. So to lift weights, I'm talking about heavy weight. I don't mean those cute little colorful dainty girl weights that weigh like 2 and 3 pounds. I mean heavy weight. And I don't mean you should go pick up a 20-pound weight if you've never done it before, but I mean that's what you need to aim for. And you will be surprised, even when you're starting out, that you are a lot stronger than you think you are. Heavy resistance training is going to stimulate your muscle stem cells to make and maintain muscle. But if you're picking up those cute little weights, you're just going to tire yourself out and not burn or not make any muscles. You might burn calories, but you're not creating more muscle. So you need to lift up heavy weight. You need to challenge yourself. So you should be lifting at least 3 times a week to build some strength. And you want to aim for 3 to 5 sets, and you really only need to do 5 or 6 reps. So a set is how many times you're going to do 5 or 6 reps, obviously. And then you're going to rest in between. So if you can only do 5 at a time, that is better than doing 20 of those little light weights that don't even stimulate your muscles. If you're new to it, you want to start with low or no weight to be sure you have the right form. And then once you get the form down and your brain kind of understands how to manage your body and get you in the right position, then you can start adding weight. So proper form is essential. And if you can get a trainer, they're very helpful because they can watch you do all the exercises and know when you can start adding weight. Ultimately, I like the machines. The machines help you stay in good form, but what you really want to do is learn how to stand up and use dumbbells, because when you're standing, obviously you're using muscles to just stand there, and you're using balance muscles. And when you start lifting dumbbells and placing stress on your body, you're still actually helping your bones in your hips and your legs and your lower back, because that part of your body has to support you. So the ultimate thing you want to do is be able to support your own weight and use dumbbells. So how do you feed your muscles? I don't want to get into a whole protein discussion about vegetarian versus vegan versus meat eating. I will say that meat has a lot more concentrated protein per gram or per pound than the non-meat sources. But you really need 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. And that's like 0.8 to 1.0 per pound. This gets kind of, to me, I'm not a numbers person, but some people are. So if you want to know how much you weigh, for us Americans, a kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. So you can estimate your weight. I weigh somewhere around 130. I don't weigh myself, I'm just guessing. And so I'm going to be, I guess I weigh somewhere around 65 kilograms, give or take. So that means I need to eat 100 to 130 grams of protein a day. Generally, that means I look at it as like, okay, I need about 30 grams of protein per meal. And to me, that is 1 serving of meat, fish, chicken, eggs, that kind of thing. Adequate protein is really important to feed your muscles, to nourish them so that they do grow and you do get stronger and you do recover, because if you're not getting enough protein, you won't recover and you're going to feel extra sore, and you don't want that. And your muscles and tendons actually get very sore too, because it's all part of the same system. But you don't want to get tendinitis or any kind of other itis from working out. So making sure you have adequate protein will actually help that. when women hear how much protein they need, they say, "How do I get that much protein?" I know I did because I went from being a vegetarian when I was in my 20s to eating meat, and I'm still not a huge meat eater, but I do make sure I get some type of protein at almost every meal. But it is hard, and I think it's harder here in Mexico than it is in other places. Animal-based protein is pretty easy. Chicken, fish, beef, pork provides about 30 grams of protein per 4-ounce serving. For other things, a cup of cottage cheese is about 30 grams. So is a small can of tuna. Greek yogurt contains 20 to 30 grams per cup. And then protein powders, I'm not a huge fan of. There's a big variety of them, types, what they're made from. There's whey protein, there's egg white protein, there's plant-based proteins, there's pumpkin seed proteins, and there's been a lot of controversy about whether they actually work or not. And now there's a lot of information coming out that some of them, even the big name brands, contain heavy metals. And some of them are very hard to absorb. They're hard on your gut. Some people have stomach problems from them. I always try to just eat real food. I mean, one ingredient, a piece of chicken. I know what that is. So that's my recommendation. If you really, really can't get protein anywhere, you could have that for backup, but it's not the best choice. I mentioned this before, but I just want to say protein helps muscle growth, which helps with fat loss. So the more protein you get, the better your muscles grow and the less fat you have. One study of 130 overweight people on a low-calorie diet, they had a high protein group and a average protein group. And the high protein group actually lost more than 50% more body fat than the other group. That's pretty astounding. Eating a lot of protein with meals also reduces hunger and it maintains a lower blood sugar. And so you don't get cravings for junk because your blood sugar and your insulin are not going up and down. They stay in one even line and your blood sugar stays very stable and you don't get hungry. So if you ever really have a day where you're like really hungry all day, I know I do. I occasionally do. It's like, I'm just really hungry today. And usually it's because I was really active the day before. But I know now to eat more protein, and it's very satiating to eat protein. It's like what your body's telling you need. So building and maintaining muscle is essential for health and longevity. You want to stay independent. Loss of muscle equals lack of mobility, and lack of mobility means you are headed to the nursing home, and none of us want to go there. To build muscle, it's essential to consume enough protein, which provides the nutrients to build and repair muscle. I want to mention one supplement that is getting a lot of press right now, and there's a lot of really good scientific research on it, and I actually wrote an article on this as well, so I did a bunch of the research on it too, and I was really astounded. This is something called creatine. Creatine. It is a part of a protein, so if you are eating meat especially, you will get a decent amount of creatine. It's a powder you can take as a supplement. And people, even way back in like the 80s and 90s, it was popular. But it was more popular for bodybuilders. And people thought, okay, it builds bigger muscles. It actually makes your muscles absorb more water. So it kind of makes them puff up. But there's a lot more to it than that. It gives them more energy so that when you're working out and you take a little scoop of creatine, you actually have more strength and power when you're lifting weights. So that's why people used to take it. And a lot of guys still do because of that. But it does a whole lot more. It also it helps with energy production, not just when you're working out, but the rest of the day. It improves cognition and brain function. And this is the big thing about creatine, is that it's really good for your brain. It improves your memory. It provides neuroprotection for your brain and nerves. against things like toxins and environmental allergies and environmental things that might cause issues with your brain and your nerves. It also reduces muscle wasting. It helps injury rehab, and that's a big one. It really helps you recover from injuries better. It increases your ability to lift weight, improves your cell hydration, so your cells actually take up more water. It lowers your blood sugar. It supports methylation, which is something our bodies need to do to utilize nutrients from the food and supplements we eat. And it enhances your bone density. Creatine comes in a powder. You take about 5 grams a day. You just throw it in some water. And it does all these great things. It doesn't make you fat. Doesn't make you, there's no side effects. There's nothing bad about it. It's got a lot of good stuff. So remember these principles of resistance training. Keep it consistent. You want to do probably 3 times a week at least. You can do more than that, but you want to make sure you take a day off in between. And it doesn't require equipment. You can buy those dumbbells if you want, or you can use things like cans or gallon jugs, which are great because you can fill them with sand or water. I even use rocks sometimes when I can't find what I need. Anything that's heavy that you can manage the weight works as a weight, as long as you can hold on to it well. I like to suggest that people invest in a few dumbbells. Generally, I say start with 10 or 12 pounds, maybe 15 pounds, and you might want to go from there, but it's a good place to start. 10 or 12, all people can lift. And I also like stretchy bands. I have some smaller ones that I use, and then some bigger ones. They all work great for when you're traveling. So you pack those in a suitcase pretty easy. And you want to increase your weight or your resistance about every 2 weeks or so that you can keep getting stronger and stronger. So now I want to go through, I think it's 8, if I counted right, the 8 most functional exercises that you can do. And so if you go to the gym or you decide to work out, if you just incorporate these exercises, you will be a lot stronger. These are good all over body exercises and you will feel great. The first one is the squat. It's the most functional exercise you will ever do. And if you think about it, every time you get in and out of bed, every time you get up and down on the toilet, every time you go up and down stairs, every time you pick things up off the floor, or if you have to get yourself up off the floor, get in and out of your car, sit down in a chair, sit down for dinner, all of those things are versions of the squat. So you need to be sure you can do those. And that's when elderly people really, when they lose mobility, it's because of this one movement. A good way to start is hovering over a sofa or a chair. That way, if you fall, you'll land in a soft spot. And you want to squat down to the height of the chair. I think chairs are good, like the dining room chair, because that's the right height. But you want to control that squat and lower yourself down and then stand up. And if you need to sit on the chair before you stand up, that's fine too. But then you want to progressively add weight. So when you can sit down and stand up on a chair 15 times or so, add weight. And you can do it with just holding one weight in your hand. I think it's easier to just hold one weight rather than dangling 2 weights, but it's up to you. And you really should be able to do a lot of weight with this eventually. I don't think my squats are really heavy yet, but I'm trying to build up to them. But I think I could squat with like about 100 pounds so far. As you get stronger, you can try a one-legged squat. If you're at the live session today, I showed people a one-legged squat is just that you're holding one leg out in front of you, and you can start by lowering yourself into a chair again. By this time, though, you probably should be able to do it pretty well with two legs, so you should have a sense of balance. Next one is the lunge or the split squat. I call it the lunge. This one, again, is very functional. If you think about hiking up a hill or walking up and down stairs, this is what you're doing. It's an exaggerated movement. The lunge concentrates on smaller balancing muscles in your legs, like around your hips, your lower back, and even your ankle. And then it also helps to work your quads, which are those big muscles on the front of your thighs, your hamstrings, and your glute muscles. So it works on all of those big muscles, but it also makes you work on balance. And I think it works on your core as well, because your core, which is your stomach and back, has to contribute to help you balance. So you stand with your feet slightly apart. You take a big step back with one foot. I like stepping back as opposed to stepping forward because I think it makes it easier to get in the right position. And then you bend both knees and you lower yourself towards the floor. Try not to let your back knee touch the floor. And then you're going to push with your front leg, push your heel into the ground, and push hard as you stand up. So most of the work is on your front leg. And if you feel off balance when you do these, they're kind of hard at first. You can hold on to a wall, or you can hold on to the back of a steady chair, or you can hold on to your counter or a banister or anything like that, just to kind of help you get a sense of balance before you do it. And then if you want to get a little more advanced, you can do walking lunges, and then you can add weight from there as well. Next one is the deadlift. It's a hip hinge, basically. So you're going to be hinging at your hips. So your legs stay bent, but they don't move. Once you just have your knees bent the way mine are in the picture, then your legs aren't going to move. You're going to hinge up and down with your hips. So a good, I don't know how to describe it, but a good way to sort of picture this, and maybe I'm showing my age, but I don't know if I can explain this or not, but I always think of those, when I was younger, they used to have these birds, and you put them by a glass of water, and I think they were flamingos, and they were, fake. They weren't real. They would slowly bend forward, and when their beaks got into the water, it created some kind of movement. So they would keep bending forward into the water, and then they would bend back up. And I always think of those birds, and I don't know if that's a good description for you, but for me it is. And so you're going to be hip hinging and bending forward. And so the one thing about this one, and it's not as complicated as I'm making it sound, you want to keep your lower back slightly arched, and that means you keep your head up. So keeping your back flat with a little bit of arch by sticking your butt out, pardon my French, will keep your back slightly arched. Because if you start to round out your back anywhere, you can stress it or strain it by overstretching those ligaments. So you want to keep that arch in your back, and as you're doing that, you're also strengthening your lower back. And you want to do 3 sets of 6 to 8. But if you can go up to 10, then you should probably start adding some weight, provided your form is good. And if you want to get advanced, you can do one-legged versions of this. I can be happy to show you since I can't show you on this one. The next one, another functional exercise, is the push-up. Being able to push away from something or push something off of you can be a life-saving move. Push-ups actually activate almost every muscle in your body. They don't seem like, you're just doing your pec muscles. Really, you're using your biceps, you're using your triceps, you're using your ab muscles, you're using your shoulders, and most of your back muscles as well. So they're very valuable, regardless of the slant that you are at. I like to tell people to start at kitchen counter height. If you can do push-ups on that kitchen counter pretty comfortably, then you can progressively lower that. I'm using, in this picture, I'm using a cement, it's attached to the ground, of course, a cement coffee table. So as you get better, you can go down to a coffee table. I've used my stairs before for push-ups. And then when you get pretty good at it, you can do horizontal push-ups, and you can always do them from your knees as well. So 3 sets of those, 8 to 10. You can do more of these because you can't really weight them as well. Next is the row. This is the bent over row, or you can call it a pulling. So you can do it 2 different ways. One is, I'm on the same coffee table there, bending over, you put one knee up on the table, keep your back flat, and you're slightly bent over there, and you're going to pull the weight in to your side and then straighten your arm out, and the weight goes down towards the floor. And then you bring it back in again. And so you're using your back muscle for that. The other way to do it, and I'm using a stretchy band here, is sitting on the ground, and I have that stretchy band around my feet, and I've got a straight back, and you got to keep your back straight. And then you're going to pull that in towards you as you contract your back muscles. And that one's really beneficial as well. It helps with your posture a lot, and we spend so much time seated and hunched over, and this helps to strengthen those back muscles that get weak. Next one is the glute bridge. Strong glute and hip muscles are super important for women especially because they protect your lower back, they strengthen your hips, your knees and ankles, and help with proper alignment and stability. Sitting all day weakens your glutes and shortens your hip flexors. And even if you walk a lot, you're not actually working your glutes specifically, and you can still have weak glutes if you're walking. So using an exercise like this that specifically targets this muscle is really good for you. So you lie on your back on the floor. You put your arms straight out. They're kind of helping you balance. You bend your knees and place your feet flat on the ground, and you lift your hips up, and you try not to arch your back. You want to keep your hips kind of tucked under as you lift up, and you want to hold it there. And if you can hold it there for a count of maybe 10, and then come back down and repeat that 10 to 12 times or more. And then as you get stronger, you can hold a weight on your hips and do it, or you can also do a one-legged bridge, which is a little bit challenging. You can also try a stretchy band, and you put it above your knees, because as you are pulling your knees apart while you're doing this glute bridge, you get extra work in your glutes. Next one is one we may be familiar with. That's the plank. Planks are super important exercises for your whole core. Your core is everything from your shoulders down to your hips. And obviously, this is really important for balance. You wouldn't believe how important it is to have a strong core and how much that contributes to balance. But then it also helps you have a nice six-pack or a flat stomach and a nice strong back as well. Planks give you the power to stand up straight and hold your back and hips in alignment. So you can start with a basic plank, and that usually means you need a pad on the floor. And you want to push up off your elbows, and you're on your toes. You want to not let your back sag in the middle, but you want to keep it straight and kind of tuck your hips under again so that your lower back is kind of pulled under. That puts more pressure or work on your abs, which is the point of that. If you want to do a more advanced one, you can do straight arms. So you're in a plank with straight arms, kind of like a push-up position. Or you can do this advanced one where you start out with your elbows on the floor, and then you pull your stomach and hips in as you pull your hips up, and that works your abs a little bit more. This last one I really like. It's called a quadruped row or a bird dog, and it is really, really good for balance. My son taught me this a few years ago, and I was actually really shocked at how hard it was, um, because it was working all my core and balance muscles. So it's a good one to start on the floor. So you start on all fours, and I have a 10-pound weight there, I think. Let's start with a 10-pound weight or so, and you're going to lift up that one leg and back. That is like the opposite leg, opposite side. And then you're picking up the weight, and you're going to pull it into your side, kind of like you're doing a row, and you're just going to hold your leg up and back. So your leg stays in the same spot as you move your arm up and down. Meanwhile, your whole core is working really hard to hold yourself flat and square and balanced, and it is an excellent exercise for balance. If you want to get really advanced with this, you can do it on a weight bench, but make sure you're pretty advanced with it. I like doing it on a weight bench. It's pretty challenging, and you can increase the weight of that dumbbell. And you want to do like 3 sets of 10 or 12, however many you can do, and you will find that you tire out pretty quick if you're not used to it. And in this one, I don't have a picture for step downs. So what you want to do is go to the bottom of a set of stairs, and like you're walking down the stairs, you're facing forward, you want to step down, but you want to control that foot that is going down all the way down. So you're basically going in slow motion and controlling your foot all the way down to the next step, or the floor. Should be the floor. You want to be at the bottom of your steps. This really helps you work on your balance and the strength in your legs, so that when you are walking like down a hill or down a set of stairs, you are not just using gravity, but you are controlling that, because that is one of the ways that people fall quite frequently, is when they step down and they can't keep their balance. So I'm going to have you do those slow motion, and you want to balance it the whole way down. You can also do it sideways. You can turn sideways on your step and step off in slow motion with that one foot, and then switch sides. But you really want, the key is really controlling it and doing it in slow motion. So the key to a long, healthy life is doing these exercises and using weight. You've got to stress your muscles. You got to fight that muscle loss that we're all experiencing by lifting weight, by stressing your muscles, stressing your bones, and eating enough protein to let your muscles grow more and get stronger. Strength in your legs is the biggest predictor of a long life, and you want to have strength in the rest of your body too, for mobility, for health, for balance, for your immune system, for your brain. And so it's important to work your whole body. So be sure to consume generous amounts of protein. I mean, there's awesome food here in Mexico with fish, fresh fish everywhere. But there's a lot of protein out there if you start looking. So you want to make sure that protein is your priority. And you can give your muscles a boost by switching out some of your carbs and having an extra serving of protein. So that's it. One other point I want to make about weightlifting is how well you sleep. And one thing that I have always noticed, and I've been lifting weights off and on for, 30 years maybe, is how well I sleep. So you lift weights, and that night you will sleep like a rock. And if you don't, then you got some other stuff going on, but you will sleep really soundly. You just don't want to work out right before bed, or, like by dinner time, you want to make sure you've got a workout in. I try to do it fairly early in the day, but it depends on your schedule. But you will sleep better. That's the end. You can reach me with questions C.A. Ebeling, CAEBELING @gmail, or please visit my website. I've got lots of articles up there, and I keep adding more and more because I have a ton of them to add. And that is catebeling.com. And I also have a YouTube channel, Catherine Ebeling, on YouTube. And I'm putting all these videos on YouTube. There you go. I hope you stay strong and healthy. Thank you.